And late today, the Associated Press reported that the National Enquirer kept a safe containing documents on hush money payments and other damaging stories it killed as part of its cozy relationship with Donald Trump leading up to the 2016 presidential election. Throughout the campaign, AMI would act as the de facto PR wing of the Trump campaign, promoting the candidate and savaging his opponents. That's Hillary Clinton. A lot of that savaging was done, too. Meanwhile, advisors to President Trump admitted to the New York Times that there was no strategy for countering news related to Michael Cohen's bombshell. Cohen's evolution, by the way, represented a rapid disintegration of a decade-long relationship between Michael Cohen and Donald Trump. According to reporting by Emily Jane Fox in Vanity Fair, Michael Cohen, quote, felt he was being hung out to dry by the president and those around him, that he was strapped for cash, that he was willing to do whatever it took to protect his family. Emily joins us now. And also, Greg Browers, a former U.S. attorney. Thank you both for joining us. You know, Emily, give us a sense. I've watched this guy. I've watched, you know, I've watched being portrayed on Saturday Night Live. I've watched this personality of the guy. He sounds like a terrible bully of a guy when you listen to the recordings, and then he looks more sympathetic when he's walking in and out of the courtroom. Tell us about what made this guy turn, Michael Cohen.
I think that there were a couple of moments after prosecutors came in and seized documents from his hotel room and his apartment and his office in April, where he realized that what he had seen President Trump do to people in his orbit over the years working for the Trump Organization, and that is turn his back on people close to him if it meant saving himself, was happening to him at that moment. There was the first initial interview that President Trump did on Fox and Friends this spring, in which he said, Michael Cohen really only did a fraction of my legal work. That moment was a moment where Michael Cohen realized, oh, maybe he's throwing me under the bus. There were several interviews that Rudy Giuliani did on television where he realized that's not Rudy just saying things for the sake of saying things. These are things that are coordinated with the president and other people who are close to the president. And so there was a long buildup where he realized that he wasn't this valued member of the Trump team, that the Trump team was actually turning their back on Michael Cohen. And it was a slow build where he realized that as his case got more serious, as prosecutors were diligently working away and lawyers were explaining to him that he was going to be potentially in a lot of trouble, where he thought, I'm not going to stand by and protect this man and be loyal to this man who is very clearly not going to protect and be loyal to me back. And that's really what we saw build. Last week, it kind of came to a head. It was the first time from my reporting that Michael Cohen was actually approached by prosecutors and on a very short timetable, and over the weekend a deal for him to plead guilty came together, and at that point he was ready to just do whatever it took to save him financially and to save his family as much pain as he could possibly save them.
Let me go to Greg on this. You know, I came out of politics for years, and loyalty was the essence of everything. You never rat on your boss. I mean, in my case, they never committed any crimes, but you had a tremendous sense of loyalty every day to this person. That's the way it worked. That was the honor of our work. And you watch mob movies, there's that sort of omerta there in the mob. You look out for the capo or whatever it is. It didn't seem like there was honor listed among the requirements of working with this president.
Yeah, I think
there's no culture of honor that I can sense here.
Well, I think Emily's right. For Cohen in particular, I think the realization that he was in a lot of trouble and facing some significant prison time potentially, along with the fact that he started to think, as all of us kind of watched, that the president wasn't necessarily going to be as loyal to him as he thought he should be to the president.
Did he seem like he turned on him early? I mean, he started, as Emily was saying there, disowning him. Like, only a little bit of my legal work. The same thing he did with Manafort. Oh, he only with me a few minutes. I don't really know the guy.
Right. Yeah, I think for Cohen, that didn't sit well with him. And so we see the result of that. He's now feeling as though he doesn't need to reciprocate in terms of the loyalty.
Well, President Trump and Michael Cohen's relationship goes back years, back a decade in fact, but the friendship seemed to have taken a turn, as we've heard, after federal prosecutors raided Cohen's office, his hotel, and his home. Everything. Let's take a look at that event.
So I just heard that they broke into the office of one of my personal attorneys, good man, And it's a disgraceful situation.
I always liked Michael.
I
haven't spoken to Michael in a long time.
Is he still your lawyer?
No, he's not my lawyer, but
your personal lawyer, and not anymore.
I always liked Michael. Well, he was a lawyer for me for one of many. They always say the lawyer, and then they like to add the fixer. Well, I don't know if he's a fixer. I don't know where that term came from, but he's been a lawyer for me. Didn't do big deals, did small deals. Not somebody that was with me that much. They make it sound like I didn't live without him. I understood Michael Cohen very well.
Let's go back to Emily. He wasn't my fixer. I think we all know where the word fixer came from because we know the episodes. Looking out for him to keep things quiet that would otherwise destroy marriages, destroy elections.
Yeah, I mean, this was a man who handled his problems. It is possibly true that President Trump never referred to him as his fixer, but the very definition of what a fixer does is what Michael Cohen had done for more than a decade. So it doesn't really matter who came up with the term. It's also a little bit funny for the president to say, he was one of many lawyers and I barely saw the guy. It's true that the Trump organization does have many lawyers and President Trump does have other outside attorneys, but Michael Cohen's office was right next to him in the Trump organization. We all heard the conversation from the tape that Cohen's attorneys released earlier this month. It sounded like a very familiar conversation between the two men. So whether you believe the president and what he's saying or Michael Cohen and what he's saying, we've all heard with our own ears that there was a very familiar back and forth that sounded like the kind of conversation that didn't happen, once every so often. It sounded like the kind of conversation that happened every day, if not, every couple of days. There was
Emily,
definitely
this is
familiarity.
personal. This is personal. I look at this guy walking around. He seems like a sympathetic figure. He doesn't look like a bad guy. Looks sort of like Tony Curtis, the former actor, the late actor. I don't think I got anything against him. And yet when you listen to the tapes, he sounds like a mobster. The guy sounds like he's using muscle with people, really scaring them, frightening people to death. So who is he? Is he the guy on the tape, or is the guy we see looking somewhat sympathetically in and out of the courthouse?
Look, I think he's a complicated guy. I think a lot of people have different facets to their personality. There's undoubtedly a side to Michael Cohen that is he's a bully. He is someone who has not treated reporters particularly well. He has been sort of playing this role as a fixer for many years, but I've interviewed him many times. I've seen the way that he interacts with his family. I've seen the way he interacts with people on the street and in restaurants. And so there is a side to him that is different than the one that we've heard on recordings to him. I think he's a complicated man who has different sides. Right now, I can tell you from my reporting, I've spoken to him this week, he is someone who is grappling with what he just pleaded guilty to, who is someone who is very concerned about his family and is starting to understand the gravity of what he is facing going forward.
Greg, last question. As a lawyer and as a prosecutor, I've been reading a lot about this case. Does it matter that he knew or didn't know he was breaking the law and all this stuff? This complicated thing with the campaign finance laws, and whether he's covering it up or he's actually as a campaign contribution in kind, or it's just a cover up in a marital situation. Does a guy like that have to know that it's a law?
Well, I think it's going to turn out that he did know that this was a criminal scheme and that he knew exactly what he was doing or trying to do. And
well, that's what he's admitted to.
It sounds like he's going to come clean with all of that.
Thank you so much, Greg. We'll have more time next time. Greg Brower, thank you. Emily Jane Fox, a unique reporting ability from you today. We really appreciate you coming on.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.